reason it's different is because of the implied consent. There's a distinction that needs to be made there, and you're not allowing the moral distinction to come into play. That there could be, it now becomes much more nebulous and very murky.
You want to talk to Andrew, right, about his stance, right?
Is he here? Is he
Andrew,
to talk
this
to him?
is our friend Keyline Penguin. He thinks it's immoral to punish child sex offenders, but he had something he wanted to talk to you about your morality. So, okay, ask Andrew your question. What'd you have to say?
Yeah, Andrew, I remember a conversation that you and Rob had a long time ago, where you argued, if I'm understanding it right, and I'd love for you to interrupt if I'm getting it wrong and tell me where I'm going wrong, but that you believe that it is okay for men to their wives. And a specific way that you framed it was that men physically cannot their wives because by doing so, in the Bible they share the same flesh, and therefore you can't yourself, so therefore it's okay. Am I understanding that right?
From the context of that mock debate, yes.
So was that you doing a bit, or you kind of trying to like antagonize, or do you actually hold that view?
Well, that was a mock debate. So me and Rob, and the reason we actually had to stop doing mock debates is because people took them too seriously. Like they actually thought that we were arguing that that position was correct, or that position is our position. And it's one of the, like I that used to be a lot of fun to do, but we had to stop doing it. You remember that, Rob? We literally had to come to an agreement to stop doing those because people would actually attribute these. There was one time, what was it? I was defending Biden.
Yep.
That was another one. And I got a slew of DMs from people. They were like, can't believe you're such a traitor. Why would you do this? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, bro, it literally said mock debate. Like, it was super weird. But anyway, so go ahead with the question.
Just to clear it up, you're saying that was a mock debate, so you don't actually hold that view at all?
Well, I hold a more nuanced view, yes. I think that it's...
share it?
Yeah, I think that it's notoriously well, first of all, I think that you have to make a distinction between what's called marital and I'm sorry, I can't use that word. Let's say SA. Let's say SA here in lieu of the R word. Okay.
I won't use it either. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah. So I think you have to make a distinction between marital SA and SA outside of marriage. Would you agree with that? That these have to be distinct.
Why are we? Maybe I would agree with you, but why are we separating them? I don't understand. Because to me, it is forcing a person to do something or forcing something upon another person when they're not consenting. I think that's pretty straight up and pretty clear, regardless of the legal marital situation between the couple.
Yeah, sure, but that's the problem, is that it's not clear. It's not actually clear. And let me give you an example. Do you have a girlfriend or a wife?
I do.
Has she ever woken you up? Okay, has she ever woken you up with a blow?
Yeah, so great question. Yeah, I think that if it's not discussed ahead of time, could be something that a person could interpret as a an unwanted sexual advance upon them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think
a lot of times.
Yeah, but shut up.
Sorry,
hang on. Let me give the position, bro. Okay. So I think that sex is vastly more complex than just the idea of enthusiastic consent. And I think that people like to be very playful and they like to be mischievous, and it's complex, and it requires adults to actually have that conversation and about what that entails. And it's not just the idea here. So what I reject is the idea of categorization. So if you define SA purely as I did not consent to sexual act, then I reject that. Categorically reject it.
Okay.
As I don't believe that consent, right, is always a thing which is necessarily present, but is often implied as being present without it being stated. That marriage falls into that category, which makes it extremely difficult to prove, or to prove that the motivations didn't change to one of being vindictive after the fact when nothing actually bad occurred, right?
Sure. I I think and like you would agree that you can have a relationship or you can even have a marriage or you can have a complete stranger in the situation where a person emphatically is saying no, right? Or saying that they do not consent and another person forces them to engage in a sexual act or SA. Um, you would consider that to be rape, right?
Yes.
Why would we separate the two if that were to occur between a couple that is not married, a couple that is
Because,
married, and a
yeah,
couple or two people that are complete strangers?
because there. Let's pretend for a second that you had two deaf people. They were both like deaf, 100% deaf,
Okay.
and the one was like they had sex all the time. They just loved it. It was like their favorite thing on planet Earth to do. Okay. And one day the man went over to the woman and bent her over like he had done 100 times before and started having sex with her, right? And for some reason she was terrified. She was like locked up and scared for some reason. I don't know what the reason is, right? But she was screaming, "Stop, stop, 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 stop." Well, he can't understand her, right? He actually doesn't understand what she's saying. Do you consider that SA?
I would consider it to be SA. Yes, I would say
Yeah,
that
but
in a
but you do
legal.
hang on, but hang on, but hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on.
Okay, I'd like to give more
But
qualifiers if you let me later.
and
But
you
go ahead.
can you can. I promise I'll let you. So just so that we're sure that we understand, right? He's done this with her 100 times before. She loves it. They've talked about it. She says it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. She loves it when he surprises her like
Hmm.
this. In fact, but this one time, she's screaming stop. Nothing. All other conditions are equal. She's screaming stop, but he can't hear or understand her. Do you think that
Yeah.
that's SA?
I think that at the very least it should be, if she chose to, criminally prosecuted, and I would allow a jury and the legal system to decide whether or not it was.
Well, I'm asking you if it is. Not. I didn't ask you if you'd farm out your fucking decision to someone else. Fuck. Answer my question in good faith. Did I ask you if you would farm your fucking decision out to somebody else, or did I ask you?
You did ask me, but I think again I
Then
would
answer the
use the
fucking
all the.
answer the fucking question. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'll just whatever you ask me from now on. I'm going to just say I would farm that out to somebody else to answer it for me.
Well, I think it's. I think again, like I think that is an extremely like cherry picked gray
Answer
area
the
that you're.
question. Answer the question.
I would say yes, it is rape because she was unconsenting. The question of whether he should be
Right.
held
Right.
criminally
Well,
liable is
so
another
yeah.
question. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't ask. Did I ask you anything about criminal liability?
Well, I'm clarifying.
I don't care about your clarification. Answer what I'm asking you, and I'll do you the same service. Don't be evasive and don't be a scumbag. And then you
You
can have a
don't
good
you don't
faith
want me
debate
to
with me.
provide clarifications to my answers?
But
I
I
think
don't
that's
want you to
fair in terms
provide.
of a
I don't
conversation.
want you to provide clarifications to things I'm not asking about. If I ask if the sky is blue, you don't need to add a qualifier. It also has clouds. Okay. So anyway, the thing is like back. So back to the debate, right? Before you were being an
Mhm.
evasive, obnoxious. I want you to just point
Jeez,
out. I
I
want you.
love
I
the
want you to.
defenders.
I want you to just tell me flat out, right? You consider that to be SA,
I do. I do.
right? You do.
One
Now
person did
the
not
thing,
consent, and the other person.
right, right, and you don't think that would be absurd to the average person. You don't think that would be an absurd conditional, like that the average person, they'd be like, wait a second, hang on, he wasn't SAing her. That wasn't what was going on. Because what you're doing is you're putting the viewpoint now only on um, the non. There's no intent anymore of the perpetrator, right? There's only intent on the one who's being perpetrated,
Well,
and so
again, so
that's my issue when it comes to why you have to distinguish these things in the marital sense too, because what we've established with the death thing is that there is seemingly implied consent. Now you may say it doesn't matter, it's SA anyway, but that just seems like an absurd position, doesn't it?
yeah, okay. Well, so Andrew, I think the issue, right, is that you would agree that in that scenario that you created, she feels violated. She feels like she was and experienced what it would be akin to. He did not intend to rape anybody. He had no
Right.
intention to violate consent,
Exactly.
which is
Exactly.
why I brought up whether he could be held criminally liable. But if
I'm not asking about criminal
experienced,
liability. I'm asking
but I
what
think
you
I, thi-
consider SA to be.
I think that's well, because okay, so then we're getting into like, is SA what happened to the victim or what the perpetrator did?
Right. It's nuanced, right? It's a nuanced position because
I fail to see
I
how
would
that
not
connects to
because
but I'd love for you to, you're going to explain
because
it to me, I'm sure.
because in this case, in the deaf person, right, you would agree with me that there's implied consent there. There's like an implication of that.
That if they've done it before multiple times in the exact same fashion, sure, yeah.
And she says that she loves it when he does that.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So now there does seem to be implied consent, even though this would still meet the categorization that you would consider SA to be. So implied consent, when you say that there has to be consent, that seems a little bit more murky now for it to fall under SA, right? Seems a little bit more like murky waters because it seems like we can have an issuance where clearly we fall under SA, but a rational agent would not call that SA.
Well, a rational agent that's taking which perspective? Because there is no difference from her perspective.
I think if you ask the average, there's no difference from her perspective, right?
Sure,
but I think that moral, when you make moral claims, which is what we're making right now, right? We're talking about SA being immoral, right? You agree with me? It's immoral. And when you make a moral claim, like, yeah, moral things require intent. For instance, if like a person who's mentally handicapped, sling blade style, opens up somebody's head with a lawnmower blade, we take into account that he doesn't understand what he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we do that?
Well, because we take into account, intention. I mean, I fully agree with
intentionality. And so we wouldn't say he was a murderer. We wouldn't say that. We would say he actually is not a murderer.
Maybe, depending on
maybe, but we would fall short of murder, right? Or that he committed murder because we understand that you have to understand what's going on in order to be the thing. And so in marriage, right, that married couples often have sex daily, right?
Uh-huh.
And they play little sex games and they do all kinds of little things with each other, which they think are fun and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And the issue is that you create the post hoc justifications, right? Where, and this is what people were afraid of before, right? Before the, like all these marital SA laws came out, was that a woman could be upset, right? Have completely consensual sex with the guy, her husband, you know what I mean? And now there's a post hoc justification. I felt like I was violated, even though from his perspective, he's like, what do you mean? We do this all the time, nonstop, right? What are you talking about? And so I think you have to make that distinction in marriage, and there has to be a different presumption there than there is with just standard SA. I think that they have to be distinct from one another if you're gonna talk about law regarding
a couple that is married for 1 or 2 years versus a couple that has not been married but they've been together for like 10 years. I think that when it comes to criminal proceedings, they're going to unpack the entire relationship between the two individuals regardless.
We're not talking about, stop. Why do you keep talking about criminal? We're talking about, we're establishing a moral claim. I don't care about what's legal.
Well, the moral claim was that regardless of whether you're married or not is would you agree?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like we haven't established.
Talking about it from a criminal sense. That's the only way that I can assume that you're talking about it is because
you're
talking about the legal justification. Because why would it be? It's bad regardless.
Because of it, the reason it's different. The reason it's different is because of the implied consent. There's a distinction that needs to be made there, and you're not allowing the moral distinction to come into play. That there could be, it now becomes much more nebulous and very murky when it comes to the consent claim. Yes doesn't always mean yes, and no doesn't always mean no. That's actually true, right?
Yeah,
that is in fact actually true. And so because that's actually true, there's much more implicit kind of nuance that I think needs to go into the marital claim than in like the stranger claim.
I'd like to clarify though, like no is no unless it's discussed ahead of time and there's a safe word and other things like that. Like,
No, that's not the case. No, that's not the case either. No, stop. You're being bad. Oh no, you're being naughty. Stop. No. Yeah, come on, bro. No. That's bullshit. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean by
if
when
somebody
you
says
guys.
no to me, I'm that's it.
Oh, come on, dude. You've never gone over and like nibbled on your girl's ear. She's like, oh, stop. You're bad. Stop. No. And that's never really. And even if it never has, because you just happen to be really ugly and not charming, can we just point out, right, that again, to everybody listening to this, who's a rational agent, who's a male or female, if they're on the female side, they've done that shit. And if they're on the male side, they've done that shit. And so no, and now she's clearly saying no, right? And so imagine she goes into court and she's like, well, I told him no and stop, and this is bad and this is naughty. Those were my exact words. And it's like, but it just completely eliminates all contextualization, right?
Which is why I was bringing up the legal thing earlier. I think that is a good framework to describe the two that you're separating. Do you think there should be a legal distinction between marital?
I think that there has to be a moral distinction, and I would then base legal distinction on that, yes.
Can I jump in for a second? Why does that matter to you, Keyline, when you don't believe in the concept of punishment anyways? You're only interested in rehabilitation. The legal distinction would seem irrelevant in that sense, because in both cases, if the man was like, well, shit, my intent wasn't to do that, it was literally just, it was a misunderstanding, then there should be no punishment, correct?
I thought we covered this. So I would say that there should be punishment, but based on the definition that you're describing of removing the person from the society, I think punishment for the sake of punishment in terms of inflicting harm on the individual based on retribution is a mistake.
Okay.
No.
But hang on, before you guys get back into that, can I just like finish this real quick with you? Because I'm not even sure that you disagree with me here. Okay, I'm not even sure that you do. Are you aware that inside of usually the right hand of every man who's over 23, there is a magnet, and inside of the butt cheeks of the woman that they're with, there seems to be a magnet which is an attractor, and that when you pass by the woman who you're with, it's very commonplace for these two magnets to touch each other. Are you aware of this phenomenon at all?
I am aware of what you're describing. I think that
now, if you walk by, if you walk by and you give that open palm swat on the rear, and she says, oh, don't do that, right? And then 2 days later, you walk in and you just can't help it. She's in that perfect position. And in comes that swat, right? Did you essay her? Did you do it? Did you essay your girl, bro?
I think I hate to use the term, but like the other term that we were using, that's graping, right? If we're using the TikTok language to be safe, is very different than that, and it's very different than, I think, conflating the two is a mistake.
Well, they're both the same, right? They're both the same in the sense that we're just talking about you didn't enthusiastically consent, and you said no. So they're the same in that sense.
I think one is a single action. If you walk by and you slap another person or you grab another person, that is an instantaneous thing. I don't think that most assaults, I think, average around like 2 to 10 minutes.
No, that's not true. You can essay a person in a matter of seconds.
What do you mean? Say that. I said on average, most assaults.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares about averages? We're not talking about averages. We're talking about specifically. I'm drawing you a parallel that is completely analogous because it meets the same criteria. Just for something, the thing itself is different. That's true, but the conditionals are basically the same to account for the thing.
No,
so did you essay her?
I would imagine that in the case of like a person saying, that's why the time frame matters. That's why the duration matters, is because a person emphatically.
Well, I just gave you the time frame.
No,
she said no. She said no. That's too hard. Don't do that. And 2 days later, you do it again, and it's the same exact strength as it was.
I probably wouldn't do it with the same exact strength. I probably
That's
would not.
nice. I'm not asking what you would do. I'm asking you if it's SA.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm caught up in with Rob was asking me a lot of questions about other things when we were
Oh
talking
my
before. So
God, dude.
I'm very in the head of what I would do. But
I've literally got like 1 minute left for prattle. No more prattle. Just answer the question, please. Is it fucking SA or not?
I think if you continue to do something to a person that they've said no to, yes, it is.
Okay, so then in this case, right, considering the fact that there have been many times where it's just been a little too hard that the hand has smacked my wife's bum and she let out a little bit of a yelp. And I was like, well, then she has to be conditioned properly, meaning that she needs exactly that same equal amount of force to be applied every single time so she gets used to it. I'm
I don't
SAing
think
my
that's
wife,
her
right?
being. I don't think that's her being conditional. I think it's you being conditioned
Stop
to.
talking. Stop. I don't care. I'm not looking for psychologizing.
I
Just
thought you
answer
were
the
just
question.
asking me a question. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
answering
so
your
answer the
question.
fucking question. Is that SA? Did I SA her?
I would say that you didn't follow her directions. You're
Oh
violating
my
her
God, this
commands by
fucking
doing
guy.
that. So yes,
Do you know what the word?
yes.
Okay, next time just say yes and then
I'm.
give the qualifier.
Do you
Give the
understand that
qualifier after.
some of the that we are in front of like some people that are listening? I'm giving qualifiers as well to you, but as well to like the
Give
people that are
qualifiers
in the
after
audience.
you answer the question. So say yes, and here's why. Not
You
all a bunch of
both
prattle because I'm afraid we'll never get to the yes or the no. It takes
but
forever.
you both you and Rob have a tendency to jump in before I'm able to justify or qualify my answers, which is
No, no,
why
no.
I
I'll never do
emphasize
that.
it.
I'll never do that as long as you answer the question and give the qualifier.
Okay. Going
Okay.
forward, I'll try to do that.
Okay. So one more time. That, in your estimation, then I've SA'd my wife hundreds of times.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Well, and it's because of your lack of understanding nuanced distinctions like this that makes me think that you just don't understand human sexual dynamics.